1990 was an insane year for sports. You had the San Francisco 49ers led by NFL MVP Joe Montana taking down the John Elway-led Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl 55-10, making it back-to-back Super Bowl wins for the 49ers and making it 3 Super Bowl titles in the last 6 years, cementing San Fran as a dynasty. In the world of hoops, starting with the college level, the UNLV Running Rebels would dominate the March Madness tournament, winning their first national championship, taking down the Duke Blue Devils 103-73. On the pro level, the Bad Boy Pistons would keep Michael Jordan from winning his first ring for the last time, taking the Bulls out in 7 on their way to gentlemen sweeping the Portland Trail Blazers in the NBA Finals, making them one of the few NBA franchises to win back-to-back titles. You gotta love the hardwood. Whoa, that sounded ridiculous. Pause. Hopping off the hardwood and sliding onto the ice, the Edmonton Oilers would win the Stanley Cup, taking down the Boston Bruins in 5 games, without the great one Wayne Gretzky, somewhat justifying their trade a couple of years ago earlier to the LA Kings. One of the biggest stories coming from 1990 was the heavyweight champion Mike Tyson getting pummeled by Buster Douglas in Tokyo. But that didn't count according to Don King, so we'll move on to America's pastime, where in the Fall Classic, the Cincinnati Reds would kill a dynasty in the making, sweeping the Oakland Athletics, getting revenge for their World Series loss to Oakland in 1972. This year was absurdly stacked for sports, but my favorite moment from 1990 had to be when a pretty average college football program in the grand scheme of things, the Virginia Cavaliers would be sitting with a record of 7-0, and even crazier being ranked as the #1 team in the country more than halfway through the college football season. And yes, I said college football, not basketball. Strap in, because in this video we're going to find out how in the hell the 1990 Virginia Cavaliers managed to climb all the way up in the AP to the #1 spot, which was the first and only time we'd see the Cavs ranked as the best team in the country. I'm excited for this video, and I hope you are too. If there are any other stories, teams, or topics you'd like to see me cover, comment it down below. With that out of the way, let's find out how the 1990 Virginia Cavaliers football team found themselves at the pinnacle of our favorite sport. Where do we begin this video? Well, when covering the 1990 Virginia Cavaliers, I think it's important that I clear some things up. This version of Virginia football was a lot different from the teams that we're used to seeing them field nowadays. Although the season the Cavs had in 2025 was the stuff of legend, literally being a player or two away from making the college football playoffs. Anyway, Virginia football in the 80s and 90s looked a lot different. Don't believe me? Check this random stat out. From 2006 until current day, the Virginia Cavaliers have yet to be ranked as an AP Top 25 team in the preseason. Now compare that to years 1986 to 2005. In that time span, the Cavs would be a preseason AP Top 25 team 8 times. And coming into the 1990 college football season, things were not any different, being ranked as the 15th best team in the country at the beginning of the year, their highest preseason ranking in program history. Dare I say Virginia actually had expectations? You're damn right they did, as the Cavaliers were expected to build off their incredible 1989 season where they would win a program record 10 games at the time until 2025, going 10-3 with big wins against 12th ranked Penn State and 18th ranked North Carolina State, both on the road, winning their first conference title in program history, closing out an incredible season with a loss in the Citrus Bowl to the 11th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini. I tried to find some articles or clippings that would help me find out the Atlantic Coast Conference preseason predictions for the 1990 college football season, but I couldn't find any, so I'm going to infer Virginia was most likely predicted to finish second in the ACC behind the Clemson Tigers. I came to that conclusion because in the preseason top 25, Virginia would be ranked 15th, while Clemson would start the year ranked 10th in the country. Also, I do want to point out, the Clemson Tigers were sort of the big dogs of the ACC during this era. As from 1980 until the season we're covering today, the ACC title would be won by the Tigers in 1981, 1982, 1986, 1987, and 1988. In summary, 1990 was setting up to be a battle between the Cavs and the Tigers for ACC supremacy. Well, at least that's what most of the world thought. There was, however, some random team named Georgia Tech who was trying to throw their hat into the ring, but they started the year unranked and wouldn't even receive any preseason top 25 votes. So the Yellow Jackets shouldn't be too much of a problem this season, right? Alright, with the scene set, let's take a look at some of the key figures a part of arguably the best football team in Virginia Cavaliers history. Starting with the man calling the shots, head coach George Welsh, leading the program in his 8th year up to that point. In 1990, he had his offense flying, averaging 40.2 points a game, easily the most points per game in his career coaching in Charlottesville, which would also rank their scoring offense 4th in the country during the 1990 season. When your offense is scoring at an elite level, more likely than not, you probably have a quarterback slinging the rock and making plays, and this team had one in quarterback Sean Moore, passing for 2,262 yards with the conference-leading 21 touchdowns. Sean Moore was so good this season that he would finish 4th in the Heisman race. Virginia's three-headed monster on the offensive side of the ball was kind of insane, as pretty much every skill position from QB to receiver would lead the conference in something. Rotating over from QB, next up we have 2 running backs who went nuts this season, starting with Nicky Fisher, rushing for 848 yards and a conference-leading 10 touchdowns. I also don't really ever bring the stat up, but he'd also average 7 yards every time he touched the football, which wouldn't just lead the conference, it led the entire country. Nicky went crazy, but his backfield mate was just as impressive. His halfback Terry Kirby would rush for 1,020 yards, which would lead the ACC with 11 total touchdowns. The final player I want to mention from the offense was this team's superstar wide receiver, Herman Moore, who pretty much led the ACC in every stat that matters for a wide receiver, leading the ACC in yards with 1,190, yards per catch with 22, and touchdowns with 13. I'll be real with y'all, I wasn't hip to Herman Moore before doing this video, but after looking into his NFL career a little bit, can someone please tell me how this guy is not in the Hall of Fame? Herman Moore made 3 straight All-Pro teams from 1995 to 1997. I don't know too many wideouts who were able to make 3 straight All-Pro first teams. To open up the 1990 college football season, the 15th ranked Virginia Cavaliers would put belt to ass on the Kansas Jayhawks, winning easily 59-10. Damn, even in the 90s the Jayhawks were butt. This game was pretty much over by halftime, and when I was doing research into this game, I read that it was extremely hot. An article I was looking at said the artificial turf reached degrees of 100 plus. I don't know how true that is, but if it is, that's ridiculous. Overall, this first game was a nice warm-up, no pun intended, with the offense totaling 564 yards. And it was well needed because next on the Cavs' schedule would be easily their biggest game of the season, a matchup with the 9th-ranked Clemson Tigers. If the turf in Kansas being over 100 sounds crazy, wait till you hear this. In Virginia's last 29 games versus the Tigers, the Cavs were 0-29. Yes, you heard that right, the Cavaliers were riding a 29-game losing streak versus the Clemson Tigers. And in their next game, Virginia would have a chance at home, fielding one of their most talented teams in program history to put an end to this ugly streak. It wouldn't be easy. Clemson was favored to win the ACC title for a reason. However, in Charlottesville with a crowd of 40,000 plus and a team hungry to make history, maybe it would be Virginia leaving this game with a new streak of their own started.
The Charlottesville campus has produced many innovative leaders, but its theater of Cavalier football history reveals a chilling tale of horror. 28 losses in a row in the late 50s and 1960. A stretch of 19 wins and 70 losses in the mid-70s and early 80s. And through the years, Clemson has tortured Virginia. The pain still lingers from a massacre in 82 and a slaughter in 84. The Cavs are winless against the Tigers. But Virginia coach George Welsh figures it's time for a script change. He has a more talented cast these days.
Today in Charlottesville, Virginia, it's the first and perhaps most important ACC game of the year for the Clemson Tigers and the Virginia Cavaliers.
Michael Husted will kick off for Virginia. He's a junior from Hampton. Came to Virginia as a walk-on. Howard Hall with the return from the 8. He slips down at the 20. To play in the first quarter. Cameron, complete, and then dropped, or early in the second quarter. Cameron, he's going to go into the end zone. Helps finish off Sean Moore. 3rd and 12. Man open, McGonigal. First down, Virginia, into Clemson.
Line of Virginia.
Jake McInerney has made 16 of his last 17 field goal attempts dating back to last year. That's a 38 to football. 1:10 left in the half, 7-3 Tigers. Blitz is on. Cameron lost the football. It is not a touchdown, but Virginia will get the football where James Pearson picked it up. 26-yarder is good.
Out. I still believe it'll be an option.
They toss it to Kirby. Cuts inside. Touchdown, Virginia. Instead, it's off to the sideline and on with Chris Gardocki. What a weapon Chris Gardocki is. Another booming punt. Wallace from the 15 finds a seam. All kinds of running room along the sideline. One man to beat Gardocki. Here comes help from behind, and they take him down to the 7-yard line. Cavs backed up to the 12, 2nd and goal. Virginia leads 13-7 with 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Moore hit as he throws. Herman Moore, what a catch! Touchdown, Virginia. Steele in motion. Fisher the carry. Slide down. Thrown in the backfield. Ball loose. Clemson says they have it. And the Tigers do. Fourth and 9. Virginia leads by 13 with 11.5 minutes to play. Blitz. Incomplete. Terry Smith was open with first down.
Pass ruled incomplete, and Virginia has ended the streak.
In a hard-fought, ugly football game, the Virginia Cavaliers would finally snap a 29-game losing streak to the 9th-ranked Clemson Tigers, taking them down 20-7. Clemson would strike first on a 25-yard rushing touchdown from DeChain Cameron, setting the tone early, but Virginia would respond, closing out the first half with 2 field goals going down at halftime 7-6. The third quarter would be owned by the Cavs, scoring 2 touchdowns to put the game out of reach while their defense did the rest, keeping Clemson out of the end zone, putting an end to an historical night in Charlottesville. The aftermath of 14th-ranked Virginia taking down the 9th-ranked Clemson Tigers would see the Cavaliers climbing up in the polls 3 spots, being ranked 11th in the country, and more importantly, instilling a level of confidence in this 1990 Cavs football team. That if they continued playing ball the way they were, this squad could potentially not just repeat as ACC winners, but also make a BCS bowl game and maybe stake a claim as national champions. That sounds amazing and all, but there was still a long way to go. Because going into week 3, there were still plenty of high-level college football teams ranked ahead of them, such as 9th-ranked Colorado, 3rd-ranked Florida State, and the number 1 team in the country, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Virginia didn't really give a damn about the other 10 teams ahead of them, as in their next 3 games, the Cavs would tear up every opponent that had the unfortunate fate of matching up with this squad at this point in the season, winning against Navy 56-14, Duke 59-0, and finally William & Mary 63-35. Hear me out, this might be a stretch, but this little 3-game run for the Cavaliers might have been their highest scoring 3-game stretch in program history, averaging 59.3 points per game during this period. I looked up every season so far after 1990 and couldn't find a stretch of ball better from the Cavs in regards to scoring offense. Maybe there was one before, I'm not too sure. What I'm sure of is that the college football world was starting to take notice of this Cavs football team, jumping all the way from 10th to 2nd after those 3 games, their highest ranking in program history. For now, because I mean, it's not a secret with the title of this video and all. 5-0, ranked at the number 2 spot in the country, Virginia was finished with Act 1. Act 2 would begin in the meat of ACC play, with the home game against 4-2 North Carolina State. At the start of the year, the Cavaliers' offense was on fire, but the defense was a little behind. This would all change versus NC State, holding them to only 200 yards of total offense, not even letting them cross the 50-yard mark rushing the ball, while also pitching a shutout like Paul Skeens. Don't get me wrong, the offense was outstanding too, putting this game away in the first quarter, scoring 17 points en route to a 31-0 win. North Carolina State got smacked, but in their defense, Virginia would do the exact same thing to another team from North Carolina the following week, smacking around Wake Forest, winning 49-14. Okay, I'll be real, smacking around is a bit of an exaggeration. This game was close in the second quarter, with the Cavs only being up 28-14. 2 big rushing touchdowns in the third quarter, though, would put the game out of reach. One a 16-yard rush from Gary Steele, and the other a monster 63-yard run from Nicky Fisher, putting the game away for good, winning 49-14. I failed to mention this earlier, but after taking down North Carolina State, Virginia would climb up to the top spot in the latest polls, being ranked as the number 1 team in the country for the first and only time in program history. No wonder they smacked Wake Forest so hard, they had to show out with that new number 1 ranking. After taking down Wake Forest, Virginia would get a week off to prepare for their next big test, a shutout against the red-hot 6-0-1 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets football team, currently ranked 16th in the country. This game was going to be completely different from any game the Cavs had been in before. For the first time in program history, they were the team everybody was trying to beat. And with Georgia Tech in a similar position to Virginia, having the ability to win a national championship, this matchup was like a steak smoking a blunt. The stakes couldn't be any higher for both teams. I say this a lot, but this game was legit one of the best college football games I've ever had the privilege of rewatching and clipping for y'all. The number 1 ranked Virginia Cavaliers versus 16th ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. A leg up in the ACC standings, and more importantly, Virginia's number 1 ranking on the line.
An outstanding job too, Jim. I was just looking at it. I was down on the field walking on it. There are no major seams. It's very level. I don't think it'll cause any problem whatsoever.
These two teams with a burning desire to gain respectability today. And Virginia won the toss, deferred to Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets will receive. Michael Husted will kick, and Kevin Tisdale, who ran a kickback last week for a touchdown, waits for the Jackets. Tisdale 2 yards deep. Here he comes. Out to the 20. From the Georgia Tech 47. Straight back. Here comes the blitz. Moore gets away. Tough pass. Moore is there. Sweeney, Kirby, and Fisher on the sneak. Touchdown, Virginia. Victory. First down play, running the option. Moore flips it now. Here comes Kirby. Inside of the 30. That bring out Jake McInerney for a 27-yard field goal attempt. He's missed only twice this year. Kick on that angle is good. 2nd and 8. Herman Moore again. 4th and 2, they deliberated going for it, but they're going to attempt a 51-yard field goal. McInerney going for a school record. He's got it. He'll run for it. Jones has the first down and the touchdown for Georgia Tech. 2nd and 8. Play action. Looking long. Herman Moore is out there. Option pitch to Fisher. Here he goes to the 1. A sneak in the first quarter. 2nd and goal. There it is again. Touchdown once again for Virginia. 2nd and 1. Throwing for it. Throwing for it all.
He's
in
open.
fact, he is indeed. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Jerry Gilchrist. See number 2 come to the near side. Terrence Tomlin. 3rd down, 7 to go. There's Tomlin. First down, Virginia. Moore runs with it and scores for the 3rd time today. Throwing it as far as he can. And the interception is made by Covington. That'll end the first half with the score. Virginia 28, Georgia Tech 14. And on first down, Sean Moore riding the option, fumbles the football to start out the second half. And Tech's all over it. Calvin Tiggle. 2nd down, 5 to go. Here comes a reverse. Gilchrist. He has scored 1 touchdown, make it 2. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Moore across the middle. And 9 to go. Intercepted. Here comes Tech. It's Tiggle.
I don't know, but don't get him angry.
This group's angry, I'll tell you that. Here they come again. Sean Jones picking up about 7. The man is open. It's Merchant. He holds on. Touchdown, Jordan. First down play. Fake the reverse. Looking for Herman Moore. Herman Moore's got a step on Swilling. He's got the ball and a touchdown for Virginia. Throwing for it and getting it at the 30. Still on his feet. It's Lester. Look at Lester go to the 17-yard line. First and goal, Georgia Tech. William Bell.
Wow.
Driving in, scoring, touchdown, Georgia Tech. Next, Georgia Tech. An emphatic fake. And a sideline pass. And a catch by Emmett Merchant. It's a foot race. Merchant scores, but wait a minute. Hold on a minute. And then it's up to Scott Sisson to give Tech the lead. 33 yards. He splits the sticks. And the Ramblin' Wreck takes the first down for Virginia. They run it, set up the pass for this play. Herman Moore. Herman Moore to the 40. Gets the block. Here he goes. Herman Moore to the 20. And down at the 6.
38 left.
22 yards. McInerney to tie it. And he does. 38 all. They're letting the clock run.
Play clock is at 2.
Jones has Lester down to the 20. Tech's going to be set up to win this game. 49,000 watching. So is every college football fan in the land. A lot hinges on this one. 37 yards. Sisson. Yes! Moore heaves it. Intercepted, Georgia Tech. The Cinderella season is over at Virginia. Georgia Tech has done it.
In one of the best games from the 1990 college football season, sadly the number 1 ranked Virginia Cavaliers would lose to the 16th ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 41-38. And to be real, after watching this game over, Virginia really dropped the ball with this one. The Cavs would look unstoppable in the first half, minus giving up a huge 43-yard touchdown pass. Virginia definitely looked like the better football team, holding on to a 2-touchdown lead going into halftime up 28-14. However, the second half would be a completely different story, beginning with the pretty ugly turnover, setting Georgia Tech up with great position, where they would take advantage, scoring a touchdown on a reverse, to cut the lead down to 1 score. I want to say things got better, but they didn't. Momentum is a really crazy thing, because when it flips, it's usually hard to flip it back in your favor, and the same went for Virginia. Turning the ball over in the red zone on a tip pass that would be taken back to the 50-yard line, once again leading to another Georgia Tech score. I'd say at about this point in the game, Georgia Tech took control, finishing off a hard-fought football game, defeating Virginia 41-38 on a game-winning field goal. It took nearly 60+ years for Virginia to finally be ranked as the number 1 team in the country. It only took a couple of weeks for them to lose it. The world of college football is brutal, and if you don't execute at a high level in nearly every game, you're bound to slip up in 1 or 2 big-time matchups. 7-1, the Virginia Cavaliers were not quite out of the national championship race just yet, falling all the way back to the 11th spot in the latest rankings after their tough loss to Georgia Tech. The Cavs still had 3 games remaining on their schedule versus North Carolina, Maryland, and Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech had already pretty much locked down the ACC. There was nothing Virginia could do about that. But if the Cavs could finish the season 10-1 and play in a pretty big-time bowl game, shit, anything could happen. But that was if and only if they could run the table, taking down the remaining teams in their path.
Get close to the goal, inside that 20-yard line. He will go alley-oop to Moore. There's the record. An NCAA record. Sweeney and Fisher all in there. Here's the option play. Nicky Fisher, touchdown. At the 42, it's 1st and 10. Kirby moves out to the right. Moore looks his way, avoids pressure. Sets, fires long. He's looking for Kirby at the 5. Got it, touchdown.
Goal from the 7. Fisher. And Jackson takes it in. Touchdown, Maryland Terrapin. Indeed, one of the leading candidates, and boy, in this part of the country, the favorite. Now, off the reverse, a pass to the end zone. Touchdown! Derek Dooley, 41-yard line. And the toss. Mason at the 40. Look at that speed on the corner, and he breaks it down the sideline. He is going to be gone. Maryland touchdown. Johnson in motion. Rolling left. Has time. To the end zone. In the back corner, touchdown, Maryland. Johnson in motion. Terps looking to take the lead. Here's Mason trying to get to the corner. Cuts back. He's into the end zone for the
goal from the 3. No score in the first quarter. Touchdown. Communicate with the wideouts. Going for the end zone. Man open. Touchdown.
See what they give on the first down here.
Burer. Going for the end zone.
Virginia would start this 3-game stretch to end the season off right, winning pretty convincingly over North Carolina 24-10. If only the Cavaliers could have kept the momentum going, this video would have ended completely different. However, that wouldn't happen. Something that I noticed with this Virginia team is that they blow leads a couple of times throughout the season. The first time would be versus Georgia Tech, where they would go up into halftime up 2 scores, surrendering the lead and eventually losing. The same thing would occur in their next game after winning against the Tar Heels, losing 35-30 to the Maryland Terps. Virginia would be up 2 scores against the Terps going into halftime, but just like when they played Georgia Tech, the Cavs would surrender the lead, resulting in their second loss for the season. Things wouldn't get any better for Virginia in their next game against their in-state rivals Virginia Tech, as their starting quarterback and ACC Player of the Year, Sean Moore, would be injured and have to miss this big rivalry game. When your starting quarterback and the player who finished the 1990 college football season 4th in Heisman voting is out with an injury, it's going to show on the field, and it did against Virginia Tech, as the Cavaliers would get smacked in their final regular season game of the season, losing to the Hokies 38-13. Virginia would finish the 1990 regular season with a record of 8-3, and would completely fall out of the polls, not being ranked at all, which is kind of crazy. 4 games ago, they were the #1 ranked team in the country, and now they were on the outside looking in. So what now? Well, it would be easy to just phone it in and coast in their bowl game after such a disastrous finish to the season. But this 1990 Virginia Cavaliers squad had guts and didn't come all this way to lose in their final game of the season. And to be honest, their final game of the season was going to be a big one, a matchup versus 10th ranked Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl. The Virginia Cavaliers had already made history, climbing to the #1 spot for the first time in this program's lore. However, there was more history to be made in the Sugar Bowl. Virginia up to this point had never won a BCS or New Year's Six bowl game, or as they called it back then, a Big Four bowl game. A win against 10th ranked Tennessee would just add to the list of records this 1990 Virginia Cavaliers football team broke this year.
Moments away from the kickoff of one of the greatest traditional bowl games in college football, the USF&G Sugar Bowl. Tonight, the University of Virginia rolls into New Orleans after an historic year. Earlier this season, the Cavaliers were the #1 team in the nation for the first time in their 103 years of football history. Their sensational quarterback, Sean Moore, is back from a thumb injury. He'll be at the controls tonight. The Tennessee Volunteers are the champions of the Southeastern Conference. A balanced attack features Tony Thompson, the running back, and quarterback Andy Kelly. The Volunteers offense.
Number 8, Brian Satola, also in at a wide-out spot on 2nd and 3. Big hole for the fullback, Steele, who's in for the touchdown.
Defensive line of Virginia that's winning this ball game.
And a little pitch back on 3rd and goal results in a Terry Kirby 6. This is a chip shot.
Oh, another
a wobbly snap and a wobbly hold from the 7. On this 9th play of the drive, Tony Thompson scores. What a move. 4.5 to go. Good protection. Wide open man in the end zone. Touchdown. Power set as well. And they give it to Thompson, and Thompson's in.
Good.
The way it's spread out.
3rd and 17 on what could be the last play of the game. London goes deep, and only orange shirts are there. And Dale Carter, fittingly one of the finest defensive backs in the country, picks it off and ends the Sugar Bowl as he runs it back to the 25. And the Volunteers erase a 16-point deficit and give Johnny Majors another bowl victory.